Well, the FBI is jumping ugly on Christie over this whole bridge mess, but not over the IRS, over this targeting mess. Reportedly now not expected to file criminal charges over the agency's beefed-up scrutiny of some conservative groups. To attorney Jordan Sekulow says that this doesn't smell right. Jordan represents some 41 targeted organizations. And Jordan, I guess the obvious question is whether there's a double standard going on here or worse. What do you think?
I think it's actually worse. I mean, there's a double standard. The investigation of Christie, this blown out of proportion, when he actually fired people, and you take a risk when you fire people, because when you fire people, they can come back and say, well, you knew this or you had this, or they could have evidence. The administration, they were scared. They didn't want to fight. Lois Lerner ended up retiring on her own volition. No one got fired. People got replaced. Some retired. She took the fifth, and yet there's no criminal charges and no more criminal investigation.
So you don't take them at their word. Now, by the way, this has not been confirmed. This is the suspicion here, but it seems pretty reliable that they're not going to pursue criminal charges because there's nothing criminal that went on here. You argue that when you are targeting whole swaths of folks over their political leaning, that's criminal.
Well, and it's impossible, Neil, to do an exhaustive investigation this quickly. I mean, when you're talking about documents, thousands of pounds, thousands. I mean, just for one organization, sometimes we've got hundreds of pages of documents just submitted by them to the IRS. So imagine all the correspondence just surrounding that. How could you possibly, without ever interviewing any of the potential criminal victims, let's just call them potential, that doesn't mean a crime is definitely going to be, how could you even come to a conclusion that there'll be no criminal charges unless it's a sham investigation? I mean, they have stonewalled Chairman Issa's committee, they have stonewalled, we didn't get contacted. We finally got contacted right before Christmas to start setting up interviews for a handful of clients.
Wait a minute. So some of the people you represent have been contacted by the IRS or this new investigative counsel?
Department of Justice,
All right. And what have they asked of your folks?
All they said, this was preliminary, so they said basically towards the end of last year, right before the new year, we want to set up interviews. It was not all 41, and it was kind of just a random amount.
Well, did they give you an idea, Jordan, what they were going to need?
Yeah, it was sit-down interviews. They basically wanted to do sit-down interviews, and we were willing. We want to, work with the FBI. You want to think that the FBI is outside of politics. Department of Justice, though, we found out literally a day before they recontacted us in the new year was the day that the story broke about who Barbara Bosserman was, the lead Department of Justice attorney. So after that, we responded back to the Department of Justice and said, in light of all of the new information we've received about Ms. Bosserman, not, again, attacking her legal abilities, but as a lawyer, even if you're a great lawyer, you're not supposed to do things that would be a conflict of interest.
By the way, we should explain, you know this inside now, that because she was an Obama contributor in the last election, this past election, and she's given the National Democratic Party, that she has biases, and that was not sitting well, right?
No, it's not sitting well, and it's just not the right thing to do. If it was one donation, Neil, it was a couple $100, it'd be a totally different thing. But we're talking about someone who was heavily invested, over $6,000 to President Obama's 2 election efforts. So when we found that out, we said, hey, listen, we're reevaluating whether or not we want to cooperate. And then this week they just, it starts leaking, which I do believe is politically motivated.
Keep us posted, Jordan.
That it's not going to happen. We will. Thanks, Neil.
More to this.